Hey guys, what's up? This is Diego here at Cinemageddon Reviews. Man, it's been a while since I've shown my face on this channel, hasn't it? Well, I'm back, and a lot's happened, but I've got a lot to say about movies that I love, and yeah, let's talk about it, man. So, in case you guys missed my announcement on Facebook, Godzilla vs. Kong is officially coming out on March 31st in theaters and on HBO Max. And in anticipation for that film, I'm going to be doing a series of Godzilla movie reviews. Not all of them, because, quite frankly, I don't have the time or energy to review upwards of 30 movies before the end of the month. No, I'm just going to be reviewing some of my old favorites, movies that I grew up loving, movies that I've seen recently that I love, and just movies that I think people should see, just like the most important ones in my opinion, before you get to see Godzilla vs. Kong. Now, why Godzilla and not Kong? Well, first of all, Team Godzilla all the way. And also, hello, do you really expect a giant radioactive lizard who feeds off raw radiation and shoots plasma rays out of his mouth to lose to a giant monkey? I don't think so. But I digress. So let's get started with the film that started it all, Ishiro Honda's 1954 classic, Gojira. Now, Gojira, right off the bat I should say, was not your typical monster movie for that time. At that point in movie history, monster movies were kind of seen as sort of B-movies. You know, they were just kind of cheesy and disposable, not really taken seriously by the industry. Actually, at that point, the most serious monster movie that we had was King Kong, which came out all the way back in 1933. Also, as I'm sure you already know, in 1954, Japan was still reeling from the effects of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings. They were very traumatic events, and the whole country was still pretty shaken and still in the process of recovering from those two explosions. And Godzilla was really birthed from that fear, that sort of feeling of helplessness against a giant force of evil that was seemingly unstoppable. And for that reason, this movie remains the darkest Godzilla movie to date. There's no humor in it, or even any sort of lightheartedness whatsoever. This is not a fun movie by any means. In fact, it's pretty terrifying, and in a lot of places just downright depressing, the complete antithesis of what Godzilla went on to become over the course of the series.
Something funny going on. You better check. Oh, yeah.
By the way, all those clips you just saw are also the reason why I'm not reviewing every single Godzilla movie. I just don't have the tolerance for that amount of cheese. Now, what is easily the scariest scene in Gojira is the now iconic sequence where Godzilla attacks Tokyo. He's stomping through the city, torching innocent people alive with his plasma rays, ripping through skyscrapers like wet paper bags, and leaving the city behind him in ruins, all while remaining completely unscathed by the efforts of the Japanese army. Now, there's a moment in this sequence that has stuck with me ever since I first saw it. It's absolutely heart-wrenching. You got a mother and her 3 kids, and they're trapped in the city with no way out, and Godzilla's breathing his atomic breath left and right, destroying buildings, killing innocent people, and the family's all huddled together, crying, and they're just completely helpless. And afterwards you get that haunting anthem from the chorus of school children when the people are laying up in the hospital, kids are testing positive for radiation sickness, little girls are crying over the bodies of their dead moms and dads. This movie just has so many moments that are just so dark and they just break your heart. But the real conflict in the story comes from a character named Dr. Serizawa, who invents a device called the Oxygen Destroyer, and the film is really about him being reluctant to use such a device on Godzilla for fear that it could fall into the wrong hands. And that once again drives home the message of this movie, that some weapons are just too powerful and just shouldn't be used. And it's a bit sad to say, but this is the only Godzilla film that really reminded us of the dangers of nuclear war. Yeah, it's addressed in other movies, especially in the more recent American remakes, but it doesn't really capitalize on the themes of that as much as Gojira did. Now, Gojira is not a perfect film. It hasn't aged well. The rubber Godzilla suit doesn't look too good in a lot of scenes, some of the editing is a little choppy, and the acting isn't always 100% effective. But there are still a lot of moments in the film that are pretty entertaining, and like I said, very emotionally gripping. And for its time, it was pretty revolutionary. I actually did a little research, and it turns out that Gojira was actually the first film in history to use a guy in a rubber suit on a miniature set. And as you probably already know, they eventually got pretty good at it, but I'll talk more about that in a future review. For now, though, my rating for Gojira is 9 out of 10. So what do you guys think of Gojira? Have you seen the movie? Do you think it still holds up after all these years? Let me know in the comments section. Also, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next review in this series. That's going to be for Godzilla 2000. I'm really excited to share my thoughts on that one, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. You can also check out my best worst movie review for Godzilla 1998. Link for that's going to be in the description of this video. As always, be sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Diego for Cinemageddon Reviews, and I'll see y'all next time.